to love me, but their broken dreams have got to end.
Once again to another episode of the Midnight Reviews presented by Glasshouse Films. Now, due to the timing of the year, we're actually going to take advantage of that and talk about a fantastic and fantastically bad film franchise, Friday the 13th. That's right, for the next 4 episodes we'll be talking about the first 4 movies in the franchise itself. Now, this will actually be a bit more of an in-depth look at each film, film by film, 1 through 4. And they will be full of spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that's 34 years old and counting, then you might not want to watch these. But you still should, because it's going to be entertaining. Slasherific, some might say. Now, if you don't know about the Friday the 13th franchise, there are a series of films that started their inception in 1980. Hot off the heels of the Halloween movie. It ushered in a new spin on the genre that we had not yet seen in mainstream Hollywood, and it also introduced a number of tropes that nowadays we would view as quaint or overplayed. Now, I'll be...
Excuse me, what is this
Player 2 has entered the game.
Well, do you want in on this?
Of course I do. I get to talk about one of the greatest and longest enduring horror film franchises of all time.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself first?
They read the credits. They know who I am. Let's get back to Friday the 13th. The film was originally inspired by Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left and John Carpenter's Halloween. The filmmakers really wanted to make the film less depressing, like Last House on the Left, and more of a fun roller coaster ride causing teens to always jump out of their seats.
To be fair, both Last House and Halloween set out to do the same.
Stop interrupting me, retard, but yes, you're right, except the Friday the 13th was given a bit more of a budget, but mostly it had a lot of studio backing from Paramount Pictures, with a marketing campaign that cost more than the budget of the film. Even further marketing push after the movie itself came out.
Well, that's all fine and good, but what about the actual movie itself? People didn't click on the link just to learn about its history.
What did I say about interrupting me, face?
Not to?
Damn right, we'll get to the actual movie when I say we get to it.
Is now okay?
Yes, it's now.
Cool, so for those of you who don't know, the original Friday the 13th movie starts off with some camp counselors being killed in the 50s. But a group of out-of-town camp counselors about 20, 30 years later, who have no idea of the camp's history, decide to open up a brand new camp there. But almost as soon as the camp counselors start showing off, they began to be picked off one by one.
Now, as stated before, the retrospective is full of spoilers, so here's your last warning on a movie that's 34 years old.
Thanks. Now, while these movies started a huge cult franchise, oddly enough, most of the monikers of the series didn't actually appear until about the 6th movie. For instance, most of the characters in this movie are actually kind of likable, and if they aren't, they still aren't complete asshats. Plus, the film takes a lot of time building tension and really establishing the location.
That's something I'll always admire about this movie in particular. Shot at a particularly creepy Boy Scout camp in New Jersey, and trust me, I've been up there a lot of summers. It's a hot mess. There's always been something weird and grimy about the film as a whole. It really adds to the tension and dread, and brings the idea of being chased through filthy woods to the audience, making it a scarier experience, adding something alien to the proceedings.
Add to that the fact that the camp is also mostly abandoned. There's also a real sense of loneliness that just doesn't exist in many horror movies these days for some reason.
But ambiance and mood don't count for much, unless you've got memorable kills to pepper in there to scare the pants off of teenagers. And for the most part, while the killings don't look like garbage, they also aren't incredibly memorable. For the most part, it involves stabbings or slashings across the throat, which is a horrible way to die, but they aren't exactly the scariest or even the flashiest murders in the series.
But for some, explicit murders weren't really a big thing in mainstream Hollywood. Once the killer is revealed to be Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, the kills make slightly more sense that they're so pedestrian. especially compared to what we eventually see Jason doing in the later sequels.
It's odd that so many people forget that Jason wasn't the killer in the first movie, but instead his mother was.
Which brings about the amazing performance of Betsy Palmer.
Absolutely. She gets very little screen time in the movie as a whole, but what she does get is magnificent and delightfully off the chain, especially when she starts having the gall and Smeagol conversations with herself.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. Don't let her get away, Mommy. Don't let her live.
I won't, Jason. I won't.
You really get a sense of loss from Mrs. Voorhees. Her son was probably her last thread of sanity. When she lost him, she had nothing more to live for. Even if you don't get that from the first watching, it comes out every time you see this movie.
But Mrs. Voorhees actually presents a larger problem with the movie itself, specifically during the last third of the film, when Alice's character is running around the camp trying to hide, and all of the bodies of her dead co-counselors pop out at her for effect. You have to wonder, how in the hell did little old Mrs. Voorhees rig all these bodies to pop out at Alice right at the perfect time when she's running through the trees or opening doors to various parts of the cabins?
Well, maybe she actually did go through a lot of trouble to rig the bodies just right, and that's why the movie was as slow as it was.
Right? This has to be the slowest paced horror movie ever! Apart from, some from Ty West.
There's building tension, and then there's going nowhere fast, and this movie stumbles back and forth across that line like an intoxicated litigator during a drunk driving test. You could easily take 20 minutes out of this film and create a tighter and more tense experience with no problem.
So would you say this movie is quite the classic that most people make it out to be?
No, not really. I mean, it's easy to see why it stirred up so much controversy, especially when Skeisel and Ebert made an entire episode of their show dedicated to show how despicable this movie was. But at the same time, so many better movies had come out before it, like Black Christmas and Halloween.
Well, I know they get better from here on out, so, do you want to stick around and help me out with the rest of these?
Yeah, I guess.
Awesome! Well, this has been another Midnight Review presented by Glasshouse Films. I'm the ever-lovable host, Carson, and my, of course, gorgeous co-host, Alli. And you can actually check out her YouTube page right here. There'll be another link down below in the comment section, which you should comment on these videos. Go for it. You can't hurt me. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and Alli's. Also, there's the Twitter page at Glasshouse Films, and don't forget to like the page on Facebook. Facebook.com/GlassHouseFilms. Stay tuned, everybody.
We're going to play strip Monopoly.